This is our podcast, where we belly flop into the bouncy house of mystery, surrounded by conspiracies and unexplained phenomena, with theories so bizarre they may actually make you say,
Are they thinking with their butt? Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Katie,
and I'm Chris.
and this is Stop Thinking with Your Butt. And if this is your first time listening, it's ours too.
It's going to be great.
Yeah, this is episode number 1, baby. We're going to talk to you about all the weird things that people believe in and decide for ourselves if that's something that we can
Tap into.
if we think that we
Nice.
can go along with that or not. And if we can't, then we will just laugh and laugh and laugh. But we have to be careful because sometimes the crazy ones are right. I started researching originally the theory that Earth had been sucked into a black hole in 2012 and we were now living in an alternate dimension.
Just my initial thoughts is just a long sigh.
Yeah.
Because I don't mind these interesting things, but I feel like we would have a glitch in the matrix if something like that happened.
Right.
Or everything was just so smooth.
Or at least the wind would have blown my hair.
Yeah, or I would man, what happened last night? I don't recall. And then we just moved on with our lives, right? But so that's interesting.
Yeah. So anyway, but I started researching in that, and I was like, you know what, Katie, I love you, hun, but you are not smart enough to be talking about this stuff. So in my research, I came across the end of time, which is, I think, a very appropriate place to start. Episode 1 at the end.
Oh.
So these are all the...
Is that a prediction of
That's
how
a
everything's
prediction.
going?
Oh, shoot!
Oh, that's great. We'll overcome it.
We'll overcome, yeah. We're starting at the end. We're starting with Doomsday. In my research, I came across a bunch of sources, and my key source gave me 177 predictions for the apocalypse, and another source gave me 200. So we're going to weed through and find the ones that are most compelling, and we're just going to laugh and have fun, because some of these are pretty crazy. Our sources are Frontline, Wikipedia, National Geographic, Science Magazine, Mankato Free Press, Live Science, Britannica, Catholic Exchange, History.com, and NASA.
So right now, even with what you're about to say, it's 200 and 0, right? It's 0 for 200.
0 for 200.
0 for 200.
0 for 200 and counting, because there's even more to come.
Nice.
And then I also referenced the 1956 book by renowned psychologist Leo Festinger and his colleagues, and they called that book When Prophecy Fails. So starting in the first millennium, we have our oldest prediction, which, in my opinion, is a little vague, but I'll give it to you and let you decide for yourself. So the oldest prediction comes from an Assyrian clay tablet dating back to about 2800 BC. The tablet reads, "Our earth is degenerate in these latter days. There are signs that the world is speedily coming to an end."
And that's it? Yes. I would define that as vague.
It's almost like, and it doesn't even say who the author is. It's just an Assyrian clay tablet. It's almost like the guy just, "Dear diary."
Do you know if it's a language that no longer speaks? I'm wondering if they could only piece it together a little bit, and so they're like, it has a lot of detail, but we only know a handful of words. So we're gonna, in summary, the world's messed up. We're screwed.
Something like that.
Interesting.
Yeah. So the next documented prediction comes from the time frame of 66 AD, and this one actually has a source by Simon Bar Giora, the leader of the Judean rebellion faction. He stated that the Jewish uprising against Rome would bring about the arrival of the Messiah.
Valid reason to fight someone.
Right? So that was 66 AD. And now we're jumping forward. We have a saint who comes into play. Martin of Tours, also known as Martin the Merciful, a patron saint. He is known for leaving the Roman Empire and eventually becoming the 3rd Bishop of Tours. Here he performed many miracles and other extraordinary events. Saint Martin reportedly raised 2 from the dead, deflected a fire from a house, and even changed the devil into a donkey. And then he rode him into Rome.
Wow. So he has some credibility, right? He goes in there and he's like, "You guys gotta believe me, because look at all this cool other stuff I've done."
Look at all the stuff I've done.
Yeah. Wow. I would believe him. Just based off of that, if I was in the time, ooh.
This is back in the time though, so it's all open to interpretation.
Can you imagine if you saw someone pull a soul out of a person and then transformed it into a donkey, and he just started riding out with it.
Maybe the donkey was just an asshole. And he tamed it, and so I don't know.
I don't know. Still, I like the
So he
vision.
rode the devil, also a donkey, into Rome.
Nice.
And so Saint Martin declared in 375 AD that the Antichrist had already been born, and upon reaching maturity would achieve supreme power. And he predicted that the end of time would happen by the year 400 AD.
Okay.
Okay, so nothing. Nothing happened. Can we all agree?
Do we think that someone actually murdered this child or this Antichrist, and that's why it prevented the end of the world? Do you think that's inspiring people to go around and, they made the prediction, so therefore it's all you cultists who are like in behind corners, go seek them out, and it's like, blockbuster movies where angels and devils are like find behind scenes. We just aren't aware of it.
Possibly. I don't know. It's a good point. And then we come to 500 AD. Hippolytus of Rome, Sextus Julius Africanus, and Irenaeus, all Christian theologians.
That's a lot of anuses.
That's a lot of anuses. That's a whole lot of anus.
Okay, but you got me.
I got you hooked.
Yeah.
All Christians.
I already know this one is going to be full of shit. But go ahead.
So they're all Christian theologians, predicted that Jesus would return this year, so the year 500 AD, based on the dimensions of Noah's Ark.
Huh, okay.
So Noah's Ark, if you're down with your theology, is 300 cubits by 50 cubits by 30 cubits, which actually, if you did the math, comes to 510 feet. But anyway, so they predicted 500 AD.
I don't think I've ever heard the word cubics.
Oh, babe.
just cube.
Nope, no.
Cubics.
Cubits. It's a unit of measurement.
Oh, man, apparently I passed math, so I'm smart, apparently.
You are 3 cubits away from me right now. Okay, so then we go to a Spanish monk named Beatus of Libana, or Libana, however you want to pronounce it. He pinned down an exact date declaring that April 6th of 793 AD would be the second coming of Christ.
Okay.
Okay, so nothing yet. We're all still here. Just, we're moving along. In 847 AD, Theoda, a priestess, had predicted that the world would end that year. She was later forced to confess that the prediction was fraudulent. So however you want to interpret that, forced to confess. I'm going to say tarred and feathered.
I think it's odd that like the men say predictions. Oh, let's roll with it. You get one. This is the first woman, it seems like, who probably made the prediction, right?
She was just on her menses.
Yeah, like, she's crazy.
Witch!
Witch, yeah.
Yeah. So
she weighed more than a duck.
Yeah, she weighed more than a duck. And she float, but she didn't float. So she wasn't a witch. Anyway, so she was forced to confess that the predictions were fraudulent, and she was publicly flogged. Which, good. I'm glad she was, because she was wrong.
Yeah.
And as we know, wrong women are not tolerated. Okay.
A lot of strikeouts so far for this prediction.
So far. Then we come to 1000 AD. Pope Sylvester II, originally I'm going to say this with an accent. Here we go. Gerbert of Aurillac. That was pretty good.
Inspiring.
Or I could put my ugly American Gerbert of Orlake.
Oh, that sounds good.
Gerbert of Aurillac. He predicted that January 1st, 1000 would be the end of days, and that resulted in riots.
Yeah, I guess because it's 1000, right? Similar to that 2000.
It's the turn.
We lived through that one.
It's the turn. Yeah, so we'll get there.
And my kids say we're old.
Yeah, we are super old. I'm about to die. Okay. Now we come to the 11th to the 15th century. So we're dropping the AD and we're dropping the BC. Everything, just assume everything's AD from here on out. So after surviving January 1st, year 1000, Christian theorists proposed the new end of the world would occur 1,000 years after Jesus' death. So the year would be 1033. And this is where it's like, so most scholars assume a date of birth between 6 and 4 BC, and that Jesus' preaching began around AD 27-29 and lasted for about 3 years. So they calculate the death of Jesus as having taken place between AD 30 and 36.
I feel like the people who predict these are like those snake charmers or the milkers, like, oh, it didn't happen now because guess what? It's happening next year. We're going to upsell you.
Yeah, or it's like they're just rolling the dice. They're like 10:37.
Keep with me, folks. Keep with me.
Everybody. All right, so then now we come to Joachim Fiore, also known as Joachino de Fiore. He was the founder of the monastic order of San Giovanni in Fiore. Richard the Lionheart confided in him and conferred in him before the Third Crusade. And Dante, you know the guy? Dante.
Nope.
Believed. Oh my God.
Who's Dante? Like, which Dante?
Which Dante? The Dante.
Don Quixote?
Not the famous author. Like,
Don Quixote.
Oh my God. Dante. The Dante.
Summarize
Inferno.
It. Inferno.
Dante's Inferno?
Oh, never read it. Do you have time to summarize that real quick, or do you want me to look at it?
It's his trials of going to hell and back.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
It was a real person?
No, it's fictional.
Oh.
But still. But Dante is real. Dante is a real person. Look it up. Oh my gosh.
Okay, I'll look it up after this.
Gain some knowledge. Put some knowledge in your noggin. Okay. So Dante believed that he had been empowered with prophetic spirit. That's a quote.
Okay.
Joachim's followers became known as Johites. I'm not saying that right. Johites. Jochites.
He has followers. Awesome.
He has followers, Jochites. And they all predicted that the world would be coming to an end with the birth of the Antichrist before 1260.
Okay.
So when Joachim died in 1202, before the prediction came to pass, you know what else came to pass?
1261?
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh, good. Glad I got it right.
Yeah. So when 1261 came and went, his followers were like, oh, oops, it's now 1290. So when 1290 came to pass, what else came to pass?
I want to say 1292.
1291. And then 1292. Yeah,
you're
right.
Close enough.
Close enough. Wish you were here. Thanks. Okay, and so they changed it again to 1335.
The will of the followers to just keep pushing it to the right.
It's dedication. It's beautiful. Yeah. 1350 comes around. Do you know what else?
They still have followers after.
No, this is a different prediction.
Oh, thank God! I was going to say, how do you maintain that con 100 years after you're dead? That is, put that person on a mantle.
Yeah.
What happened?
Okay, 1350, the bubonic plague, also known as, these are great, pestilence, great mortality, the plague or the Black Death.
Judgment.
Yes, many people thought it was the beginning of the end.
Mm-hmm.
200 million people died in Eurasia and North Africa. I could see that. Yeah,
anytime the whole world around you is having a plague or something that's you don't see in a lifetime, it's very easy to assume that we're being punished, or this is preparing us to get even more punished.
Yeah, like this is just the beginning.
Yeah.
What else is coming? Yeah.
No,
so
100%.
This one I was like, ooh, I get behind that one.
I get by that.
Okay. And then Arnaldus de Villanova, another Johite.
What year is this? What year is this?
This is 1378.
Oh my gosh, 150 years after his death.
They're trying.
Wow.
They are chugging. So he wrote. Wow. And I wrote. I was like 4 times the charm.
It's like a pyramid scheme that just keeps on giving.
Keeps on going. So he wrote that the Antichrist would come in the year 1378. And when I was looking him up, the only thing that I could find was that Arnaldus loved wine. He was a wine enthusiast. He wrote books about the right time to drink wine. And just so you know, this is this book. It's in the morning after you've rinsed your mouth and have had 3 to 4 slices of bread that have been dipped in water, but never on a full or empty stomach.
That sounds like someone who would have a cultist. Well, have a cult, right?
Oh,
It's just
people and their wine.
no, but like that level of like specificity, right?
Yeah.
They want to have complete control.
Control.
And
It's
so
a
therefore
control
it's not
thing.
just controlling a people, it's also controlling actions, the environment, their everything. And that wow.
Yeah.
Still.
So, from this one group, 4 predictions.
Run away.
None of them came to pass. None of them. All right, so here we go. Now we're in a new century, 1500s. The 16th century. Johannes Stufler, a respected German mathematician and astrologer, predicted that a great flood would cover the world on February 25th, 1524, when all of the known planets would be in alignment under the water sign of Pisces.
Huh.
Makes sense? All right.
1, 2, skip a few makes sense.
1, 2, skip a few.
From back then, yeah. I mean, it's simple logic. You don't need to fill it with facts and data or anything because there was no data. You couldn't gather it.
There was no facts and data.
You can't. It's just feelings.
It's yes. Okay. So, hundreds of pamphlets announcing the coming flood were issued and set in motion a general panic. Surprise, surprise. 20,000 Londoners left their homes and headed for higher ground in anticipation. And Count von Eichelheim, a German nobleman, went so far as to build a 3-story ark.
For just his family?
3 stories, I don't know.
Oh, yeah, 3-story, okay. I was thinking, where do you go for higher ground in England? I don't feel like it's overly mountainous.
You've seen Sound of Music.
I've seen Braveheart.
There's hills and they're alive.
I'm sure there's, but I don't feel like it's like a get to higher ground or anything.
You wouldn't say, yeah.
Okay, interesting.
I can't think. Where would you say is a place where you could say get to higher ground and everyone would be like on it?
India, Malaysia, the Himalayas.
Really? Okay.
Just mountainous, actual mountain ranges.
Okay.
But yeah, I guess I don't know.
Okay. So he wasn't totally wrong.
Hmm.
There was a light drizzle that day. And that's it.
How did the people react to stuff like that? Like if I panicked and I moved my family all the way to a mountain or the highest hill within range.
20,000 people to the highest hills.
What do you do?
For a sprinkle.
I think I would be very mad at that person.
Quote, there was a light rain that day.
Does it ever say what happened to him?
No.
I bet he got ran out of town.
Probably. I would think so. Or made a laughing stock.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see there's more detail on other field predictions that give a little bit more insight into what happened afterwards. But
unless he made the first, I think he actually created the first weatherman position where you can say, hey, it's going to be raining tomorrow. It's going to be thundering. Nothing happens. Guess what? It's weather. It's unpredictable.
Rock is wet. It's raining. Rock is dry. It's not raining. Rock gone. Tornado.
Just moved on. Then he went back to his friends.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right. So Michael Stifel, a mathematician, predicted using number theory, and this comes up a lot. Number theory.
Okay.
And numerology. The difference is that number theory is scientific, and numerology is mystical. And he also used word calculation to his years of diligent Bible study.
Mm-hmm.
He was able to predict that judgment would begin at precisely 8 a.m. on October 19th, 1533.
He's doing the con wrong. You can't be that specific.
He was specific. Well, because nothing starts before 8 a.m., not even the apocalypse. Everybody knows that.
Haven't had my tea and biscuits.
Yes, obviously.
No, but so he's just an idiot because the others are cult-based, want to control. This person, at least you couldn't say he wants to control people. He's just an idiot. Like, because he's not trying to make any money off of this, or I don't know. I guess he really believed himself.
Well, okay, so
did it happen?
No. Spoiler alert. No, it didn't happen. I'm sorry. Okay, in 1533, Melchior Hoffman, an Anabaptist, predicted that the second coming would take place and 144,000 people, which coincidentally is the number of his followers, would be saved and the rest of the world would be consumed by
He had
fire.
144,000 followers?
144,000.
It's like a small kingdom. Well,
a scholar named Clausen wrote that Hoffman convinced his followers to sell their property, leave wife and child, house and field, now without any means of support.
That's how they get you. That's how they get you. In order for you to be able to follow and then rely on me as the predictor of all your future, you have to make sure that they don't have anything else to go back to. Hey, leave your lands. Come join me. I'll provide you sustenance. I'll build a house on my land.
Sounds a lot like our marriage vows.
Oh my gosh. But you know what? It worked. But here's the thing. No, but you have to like remove them of all that possession.
They have nothing now.
They have nothing. And so then you give them free board, you free food, they work hard, and you don't pay them. You pay them in rent and everything else. So if they want to leave, now what can they do? They're invested, they're tied to the cult. So interesting.
Thus the poor people were convinced to follow him by a seductive error, which arose out of ignorance of Scripture. Quote. So he had misinterpreted.
Do you think they have good intentions when they were predicting this, or do you think that because back in the day it wasn't, you can't just like research this like we can now. So do you think that?
I think that some people legitimately thought that they knew.
Yeah, I agree. I do too. I think there's some that were trying to do the long con, right? Yeah. The ones who like kept dragging out. But yeah, there may be some who are, I guess, honest with themselves.
The same way where it's like you'll be like, I've seen this movie. We watched it together, and I'm like, no, you didn't.
I don't know if it's quite the same like that.
It's exactly the same. Okay. Jan Mathis, another Anabaptist. So this is another one coming from.
Wait, Anne? She sounds like a woman.
Jan.
Still,
Mathis.
Woman.
It could be. I don't know. Names back there were
Burn at the stake?
Oh, yeah, I hope so. Let's find out. They said that the world would end during the Munster Rebellion on April 5th, 1534.
Okay.
Oh, it's a he. It is a he. So actually it could be Jan Mathis. When the day came of the apocalypse, April 5th, 1534, and the world had not yet ended, he led a rebellion and was decapitated.
Oh.
So I guess it was right for him.
Was he waiting for the sign to either attack or not to attack, probably?
Anyway, that was just like an extreme way to get out of saying that you were wrong, right?
Yeah, or just like, suicide by cop, suicide by prophet. I don't know. That's interesting. Okay.
Are you with me so far?
Yeah,
okay.
I'm with you.
Okay. Now we're into the 17th century, so the 1600 time frame. You remember the astrologers in London in 1524? They said that the flooding was going to take place and 20,000 people left, and Count von Igelheim built a 3-story ark?
Yes.
Okay. They corrected their prediction. They're like, oh, shoot, we're 100 years off. So now it's going to take place in 1624. At that time, people are going to be like, yeah, whatever.
I think if it's a scientist, kind of like the weatherman, just because you're wrong, because what's the real big impact? Well, minus the 20,000 people who evacuated.
Leave your land!
Yeah. Totally forgot about those people. Sorry, those people would be pretty pissed. But everyone else, like in London, when like, you know what I'm saying? I feel like the people who he surrounds, his socialites, they probably don't get mad. They're not upset with them. Because it's just the peasants. It's just the peasants.
It's just the peasants. The poor, the fodder. Oh, the fodder.
What did one poor person say to the other poor person?
Who cares?
Who cares? The poor.
Whoa.
Okay.
All right. Back on track. In 1648, Sabbatai Zevi proclaimed that the Messiah would come that year.
Okay.
Anytime there's the arrival of the Messiah, it's always the.
Do they give reasons why they're thinking? Like, was it a scripture interpretation? Were they spoken to?
A lot of these are scripture interpretations, believe it or not, and most of them come from like the people who study the numerology.
I can believe it because of how many interpretations and translations
there are. That's why I'm like, how do people,
I get that.
Especially now in modern time, for people to make predictions, I'm like, you're nuts. It's like the longest game of telephone. It's over thousands of years.
And they don't have autocorrect.
You know, where it goes through like a line of students and the teacher always starts it and it starts off as something nice and innocent, like once upon a time. And then it goes through the line of students and it ends with, Brian's a jerk and he smells. You know what I'm saying? Anyway. All right, and now, so this one was interesting. Christopher Columbus made a prediction.
Okay.
He traveled many times back and forth.
Oh, so this is after he discovered.
During one of his trips. This is one of his trips to the Americas.
Okay.
Christopher Columbus said that he had a vision, so he became a seer on one of his voyages. The world was actually created in 5343 BC.
Okay.
And that the world would only last 7,000 years. That would mean that the world would end 1658.
I'm just trying to think back in the time. How do you even come up with a date like that? Does that make sense? Like, we watch some of these shows and they're like carbon dating and they try to get, there's always a range. But how do you get like 5,000 and that specific?
And that specific? I don't know. Moving on. Now we come to...
Was there any backlash for him? That's a pretty famous person to make a bold prediction like that.
It's almost like it got swept under the rug.
Oh, don't worry about him, folks.
Yeah.
Get Chris back at her. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah, you're old now. We've never heard of him
man
back
behind
after
the
that.
curtain. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was interesting. Sabbatai Zevi, he had predicted that the Messiah would come in 1648.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Okay. So when 1666 came around, he's like, I am the Messiah.
Well, if you can't lie about it, you might as well own it,
right?
I mean,
right? Okay. So, Messiah didn't come. Wait a minute. I'm the Messiah. Plot twist. Gotcha. Gotcha, bitch.
And then what? And then
time continues.
How long did he pawn that off for?
I don't know.
I bet you all the followers just said, if I was so here we go. If I was a follower, I would walk away. At that point, you can't just be like, you're the Messiah and the world's continuing and nothing. I can't buy into that. I would have to walk out.
I feel like you can determine if someone's a Messiah or not just based off of simple observance. If I had to watch you sorting laundry, I'd be like, obviously you're not the Messiah.
Oh my gosh. I can't help if I can't tell the difference between my two daughters and your clothing.
But I'm just saying, like, simple observance, like, that man cannot...
Amazing, by the way. Amazing man.
Well, you man, yes. But, like, he doesn't know a goat from a...
Donkey.
He can't be the Messiah. I don't know. Something like that.
No. I would totally run away.
But 1666 was an interesting time because, and this is kind of where, if I had lived at that time, this is kind of where I would put my money. This is where I would tap in. So 1666. So people are super religious, really, like, Puritans, Christians, all those, like, really heavy hitters. The presence of 666 in the date. That's one. We're on the third wave of the bubonic plague.
3 is always a big thing in Bible.
Yeah, but so 3 is the Holy Trinity, but 666 is the reverse. It's the insult to the Trinity. So 666 plus the third wave of the bubonic plague and the Great Fire of London.
The third Great Fire of London?
No, just the Great Fire of London. It led many people to believe that it was the beginning of the end. So not only is 666 the number of the beast, but many Christians in the 17th century Europe feared that the end of the world would be 1666. The Great London Fire, which lasted for 3 days, September 2nd to the 5th, destroyed much of the city, including 87 parish churches and 13,000 homes.
I think it's interesting, like England back in the day, right? That's where, quote unquote, the civilized countries were, even though they expanded, there's the whole world. If you really look at England, it's the smallest place in the, especially London and everything, right? What happens there, they just assume it's part of the bigger picture.
Hub.
It's the hub.
It's the eye of the world at the time.
Again, when you don't have, like right now, right, you have YouTube, internet, everything else, ratio-wise, it's just kind of interesting back then where if it happened in London, then guess what? This is what matters. Stepping stone to the whole world. This is what matters, right? That's what it matters.
Yeah. This is the brain of this is the nucleus. London is the nucleus. So if London is burning,
the whole world.
The whole world. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
So that's kind of where I would put my money. Actually, there weren't a lot of deaths though during the Great London Fire. There was less than 10 recorded deaths. According to Historic UK, it says although the Great Fire was a catastrophe, It did cleanse the city. The city was overcrowded and disease-ridden. Streets were destroyed, and a new London emerged.
I guess that's a positive way of looking
Isn't
at
that
it.
like the weirdest positive spin? A monument was erected in Pudding Lane on the spot where the fire began and can still be seen today, where it is a reminder of those terrible days in September 1666.
Okay, 1666 the year now. Okay.
So that would be, if I was during that time, I'd be like, okay, this is where it ends.
I
would sell my sheep. I would rid myself of wives
because
and children.
The same 20,000 followers who abandoned their lands to the highest hill, they're not in the city of London, so who cares if it burns down? They're probably like, fuckers. Remember that guy that their scientist told us to leave our farm? So their sympathy level is like,
They could care less.
Yeah.
This one's an interesting one because I didn't know about this one at all. You might recognize it. Puritan Reverend Cotton Mather. Does that ring a bell?
Oh, of course. Not.
This douche canoe. This twat waffle. He predicted the world would end in 1697.
Okay. Why do you hate this guy so much? There's more to this, but I'm curious.
Oh, there is.
Let's hear this.
Okay. So he predicted the world would end in 1697.
Mm-hmm.
When he was wrong, he changed it 2 more times to 1716.
Common.
And 1736.
Long con. Okay.
Okay. Salem witch trials.
This guy. Oh, now it makes sense.
This guy.
That makes sense.
So the Salem witch trials took place
if he's going to go down,
1692
taking everyone with him.
to 93. So he condemned himself. He condemned over 200 people and executed 19 people for witchcraft.
Only 19 has to be more than that.
19 executed.
I feel like there's hundreds.
4 years. I mean, there might have been more, but directly at his hands.
Wow. Okay.
4 years after his stupid condemnation of innocent people, he made 3 predictions for the end of the world. So this is where I'm like, okay, I'm in my little hat with my little bib and little apron and my little shoes.
And you're in a new land.
And 1697 comes around and I'm like, okay, the world's gonna end according to Cotton Mather, and it doesn't. I'm like, crap. Were those even witches?
Oh, after the fact.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess you would be thinking that if this person made the prediction. Because he made the prediction after.
It 3 times. After.
Wow, yes.
And he was wrong 3 times. When would the people start to think?
You would it's almost like sometimes you have that corrupt cop or something like that where they're like, what? This guy's corrupt. Let's look at their cases for the last 10 years. And they overturn everything.
Crap.
This guy was crazy. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So what happened to him? Did he live out a long and prosperous life?
Oh, I'm sure he did.
So then there must not have been that much of an outcry.
Yeah.
But still, that's insane that no one would put those two together.
Until now. We're the first people.
Oh, yes. We do this for their family.
Yes, it's for the
victims.
If I can insert a quote from one of our great leaders, I'd really like that, if you don't mind. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me, you can't get fooled again. George W. Bush.
Okay, that's interesting. Hey, that's right. You just can't.
Can't fool a fool. Next. Jacob Bernelli, a prominent mathematician, predicted a comet would destroy the Earth on April 5th, 1719. So this is the first time we're starting to get cosmic. We're talking about
second time, because all the planets aligned.
Oh, that's true. During the flooding, you're absolutely right. Mm-hmm. But this is the first time there'd be an impact, I guess, with another astral.
Predicted impact, yeah.
An astral being.
Yeah, you can actually see the incoming potential impact. Okay, got it.
Then we have a retired naval lieutenant, Richard Brothers, stated that the beginning of the end would occur between 1793 and 1795. In 1792, Brothers declared himself a healer and that he could restore sight to the blind. And he drew large crowds, but not due to his healing ability. It was to the monetary gifts that he would bestow upon them.
To the victims?
Yeah.
I mean, his patients?
To his followers.
Oh, I would be a follower too if someone just gave me large sums of money.
What do you believe in? I believe in it too.
It's like instead of a crisis actor, it's someone who just follows around and just cheers them on. It's like a
little personal cheerleader. I'd be the person with the like the hat that's a cymbal and a belly that's a drum and the tambourine on my hip and the playing the trombone with the harmonica hooked to my mouth. One man band.
I would be the less annoying one.
Yeah.
That's who I would be.
Yeah. So he was committed to an insane asylum.
That's you can't just be giving away your money.
Yeah.
I can do whatever I want.
Right.
Nice, rich people.
Okay, so then in 1805, somebody predicted an earthquake. So in 1806, oh, this is my favorite. This one's my absolute favorite.
1806.
1806.
Western.
This is in England.
England.
In England.
Western. Sorry, now I know where. No, sorry.
1806.
Sherlock Holmes.
1806. Cowboys.
Sorry, I'm just trying to put my right frame set here.
1806. England.
England, got it.
The Hen of Leeds. In 1806, Leeds, England, a hen had been laying prophetic eggs.
Okay.
So the hen owner, Mary Bateman, would charge townfolks a penny apiece to witness the hatching of a prophetic egg. And the eggs were inscribed with a message, Christ is come. It's fascinating, right?
It's fascinating that I think this woman had to scratch that on and then shove this egg up a hen's butt. And then say, here it comes.
So,
reverse egging.
As news of this miracle spread, many people became convinced that doomsday was at hand until a curious local debunked the situation. Turns out, Mary Bateman, owner of the hen, had a long history of theft and swindling and had written on the eggs in a corrosive ink so as to etch the eggs and then reinserted the eggs
there you go.
back into the hen's oviduct.
Wow. I called it. You're welcome. Wow.
I was laughing to myself.
Wow.
I'm like, what's the opposite of like a noise?
Oh, God, stop that. No, stop.
The poor chicken!
That's horrible.
That's the
People
worst.
are horrible.
People are the worst. But the thing
I
that's
would
kind of
take
funny.
the cult follower than this person. Oh, man. That's disgusting.
So actually, so this was in 1806, the hen of Leeds, and her shoving.
Hen? How long did she do this for? Do we
Not
know?
long, because in 1809 she was hung.
Oh, perfect.
She was executed. Her body was transferred to Leeds General Infirmary. So she actually gets outed as being a witch.
She's a witch, but yet.
But her biography is fascinating. She is such like a con artist, and she is super conniving, and she would like convince people. She was like one of those psychics that would take your money, like psychic.
Yeah. Okay. But I think it's odd that they would hang her as a witch when they debunked all the things. I thought they were just going to hang her because she stole everyone's money.
Well, she would also she would send people letters as somebody else, as like a head sorceress.
Oh, so only some of the stuff was debunked.
So she would send you a letter, and it'd be like, "Hey, friend, your son's about to die. Deliver 10 pounds of honey to Mary Bateman to save his life. Burn this letter."
If you don't send a thank you letter or I love you letter to the next 3 people, then the first chain message.
No, so she was sending people. She was sending notes to people and using their vulnerability against them.
No, definitely deserves to be hanged.
Yeah, so she was hung as a witch, and her body's still on display.
What?
So after her execution, her body was transferred to Leeds General Infirmary, where it was put on display, and they charged 3 pence per visit. Her body was dissected by William Hay, who spread the event across 3 days. Wow. One day, medical students.
I feel like that guy is worse than her.
Well,
you know what?
This was big back in the day. Viewing the dead was huge.
Not dissecting. No.
The dissection, I don't know. But the viewing of bodies and windows, people would come in. They would pay money. They'd stand in the streets for days.
No, it almost sounds like this person, this doctor person, was like, because she's a witch, we must examine her and look at try to find the devil within her. Yeah. Or some other random thing. So now we're going to make this thing a 3-day process of dissecting.
It was like a theme park.
Yeah, exactly.
Because on day 1, the medical students were able to view the corpse. On day 2, 100 tickets were available to gentlemen.
Well, okay, if they're just viewing, that's
and
different.
On day 3, a woman could buy a ticket to attend Hayes' lectures on the body.
Okay, so he wasn't dissecting to try to get the evil out.
No, she was dead.
That's what I was just thinking.
No, so and then strips of her skin were tanned into leather and sold as magic charms to ward off evil spirits.
There you go.
The tip of her tongue was collected by the governor of Ripon Prison. 2 books we're going to do another episode on this. 2 books from the library of Mexborough House were covered in her skin.
Why didn't we do a whole episode just on this random hen
We
lady?
will. We have to. So Sir John Cheekes's Hurt of Sedition, How Grievous It Is to a Commonwealth, and Richard Brathwaite's Arcadian Princess.
Can you imagine if you just started taking bodies from the graveyard and skinning and tanning them and then try selling it on, like, Etsy or something? That's
crocheting
disgusting.
Books.
I don't know. I don't. That's weird.
So the books went missing in the mid-19th century. So I'm curious to know as to where those are, and it piques my interest because the Necronomicon, the Book of the Dead, is
covered in skin.
Is bound in skin.
Nice.
So it's curious to know. So we'll do another episode on the Necronomicon too.
Okay, so now we're in the 1800s. That was in the 1800s that happened?
That happened in 1809.
Wow, I feel like that would be happening in like the 1400s or something.
That's not
that long ago. There's people who probably have been recorded on what, I don't know. That's interesting.
Yeah. So her body is still on display in Leeds, England.
Nice.
So a New England farmer named William Miller, after several years of very careful study of his Bible, so another very studious Bible interpreter, concluded that God's chosen time to destroy the world would be divined from a strict literal interpretation of the Scripture.
Literal interpretation.
Yeah, as he explained to anyone who would listen. This guy sounds annoying.
You,
hey.
random person in the back. Yeah, you. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, I'm just here to get cheese. So he said that the world would end sometime between March 21st, 1843 and March 21st, 1844. So within the year, the world would come to an end.
Okay.
He preached and published enough to eventually lead thousands of followers who became known as the Millerites. And with their input, they came to an actual date, April 23rd, 1843. Many people sold or gave away their possessions, assuming they would not be needed.
Well, wait a second. I counter that. If they sold their possessions,
who got the money?
They may not. The items may not be needed, but you need that money. That money's going to do you pretty good.
I'm guessing that William Miller needed the money.
Yeah, sell and bring it to me so I can, talk to other people and spread the word.
For 5 guineas.
Quick, everyone, sell everything and bring it to me. That's again con.
Yeah.
It's all about money, control.
April 23rd arrived, and Jesus did not come, and the group eventually disbanded because of this.
With no money or property.
Yeah. And some of them actually formed now what is known as the Seventh-day Adventist. That's familiar, right?
Wait a second. So they, like, what is that?
Millerites became, a sect of Millerites formed what is now known as the Seventh-day Adventist. So they stopped following him, but they continued to
follow the same type of interpretation practices? Mm-hmm. Do they still believe in the end of the world?
Every religion believes in the end of the world.
But meaning, like, are they kicking the can like, oh, it's next 100 years or something?
I don't know. So one of the followers, one of the original Millerites, Henry Emmons, wrote, I'm poor. I waited all Tuesday, and dear Jesus did not come. I lay prostrate for 2 days without any pain, sick with disappointment. And after Christ did not return, the Millerites then revised William Miller's prediction to October 22nd. So those that stayed with him...
You see, they kept kicking it down.
The date, October 22nd, 1844. So just later that year.
I do feel bad because to that person's quote, right? There are, whether the person who stated it, there are 100% people who buy into it.
They
fully believe it. And just think of the trauma, because it's almost like going through all the different stages of grief, right? Mm-hmm. You know you're going to die. Everyone knows they're going to die, but like you're going to die like 2 days from now. So you prepare. What do you know if you 30 days ahead you knew that you were going to die? Like people on death row. Yeah. You change it, you go through the stages of grief, you're prepared for it, you're mentally ready, you've said your stuff, and then you got another 40 years.
Yeah.
That's devastating.
So they changed it, the Millerites changed it to October 22nd, 1844, claiming that there had been a miscalculation in the scripture. When that day came and went, the realization that the prediction was incorrect resulted in what is now known as
the massacre. Something with the massacre in it.
The Great Disappointment.
Oh, the Great. That's so Disappointing. Oh man, I wanted some revenge. I wanted some like John Wick.
The Millerite Massacre of 1844.
Yeah, with the townspeople uprising.
It was the craziest thing, man.
Oh, that'd been awesome.
The great
disappointment.
disappointment.
That's so.
That's disappointing.
That's super.
Moving on.
Awesome.
Disappointed. Moving on.
Next.
George Rapp, the founder of the Harmony Society, preached that Jesus would return in his lifetime, even as he lay dying on August 7th, 1844.
Always believe that guy.
Any minute now. Any minute.
I feel like you're holding on to hope. Nope.
Any minute now.
Facts.
Jonas Wendell predicted that the second coming of Christ would happen either 1873 or 1874. He even wrote a book about it called The Present Truth. But when it didn't happen, he reinterpreted his prediction and affirmed that Christ did in fact return in 1874.
Yeah, just not to
he was
to
invisible. Oh no, he was invisible. Camille Flammarion predicted that in 1910, appearance of Halley's Comet. So we're going to see Halley's Comet.
We're in 1910 now?
1910.
Okay, good.
So I'm going to get into Halley's Comet a little bit. So in 1910, the appearance of Halley's Comet would impregnate the atmosphere and possibly snuff out all life on the planet. Comet pills were sold to protect against toxic gases.
Comet pills.
Comet pills.
What do they have in them?
Cocaine, probably.
To protect. So
take these comet pills.
This is what, the 1900s? I feel like the 1900s,
they should be smarter than this.
Nope. I feel like if you look at all those movies where you get the typical street urchin, I think of like the 1910s.
A comet pill, sir. Yeah.
Please, sir, can I have some more?
So Halley's Comet, this is one of those things, because I'm like, Halley's Comet, that just happened not that long ago. It's like in our lifetime. So
isn't it reoccurring though?
It's every 76 years it passes.
Yeah.
It does a rotation around the sun. So every 76 years. So we saw it again in 1986.
I wonder if that was a comet that they thought the asteroid was going to hit and destroy the world.
Well, hold on, we're getting there. Don't jump ahead. Don't jump ahead.
No, from what you just said, like from
300
years ago.
300 years ago?
When you said the first cosmic,
when they said that the asteroid, I think that was 1705.
Yeah, I wonder if that asteroid may have been Halley's Comet.
It's quite possible it could have been.
Sure, we could do some calculation there real quick, but
I was like, I'll have to go back, but I think it was 1705 possibly. But yeah, I wonder. Yeah, so Halley's Comet makes a pass around the sun every 76 years, and the last pass happened in 1986 and was seen for 2 days. So we saw it last 1986, March 13th to 14th, and we'll see it again 2061. The laziest prediction award goes to Wilbur Glenn Voliva, who stated that in September 1935, the world is going to go poof and disappear. Quote, the world will go puff,
puff,
and disappear.
Who is he? Like, why would anyone listen to him?
I don't know.
But I like that theory.
Puff and disappear. I think he was an astrologer. George Van Tessel, you'll like this guy a lot, was a UFO prophet.
Ooh.
A UFO prophet are people who believe that they've been abducted. Okay. So
what year was this?
This is going to be 1967.
Oh, okay. We jump. Okay.
So we're in the 60s now. We're getting closer. George Van Tassel, the UFO prophet, said that August 20th, 1967 would mark the beginning of the third woe of the apocalypse.
Third woe. Okay.
Okay. Are you familiar with the woes of the apocalypse?
No.
There are.
But they're probably bad.
It's not like whoa. It's like
woo.
It's whoa. So the first woe is something like locusts. Second woe is the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse and their army of 20 million released from hell to kill a third of mankind.
Nice.
Their third woe is written as, quote, the greatest horror the citizens of Earth have ever seen.
I wish I could say insert something funny right there, but
not really funny.
I know it.
I don't feel it right now. So, but during the third woe, the southeastern U.S. would be destroyed by a Soviet nuclear attack. This is where, as we're getting more current, I'm diving a little bit deeper because these are more relevant. So where did he get this information from? Well, he obviously acquired this knowledge when he was channeling the alien named Ashtar.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And then the following year, so 1968, he prophesied that millions of devils together would, with massive flooding, would result in mass extinction of the human population. But because this was coming to be, followers could be spared by buying their way aboard spaceships disguised as clouds that were sent to rescue them.
How did they buy their way into that?
By selling their lands, wives, and children.
I'm just curious. It was a monetary, or do you have to was it like a?
It was.
Okay.
You have to buy your way onto the cloud-shaped life raft sent by Ashtar.
Well, Ashtar is a very nice guy.
Yeah. Then we have a guy named Herbert W. Armstrong. He made 4 compelling predictions, sprinkled them in there. Edgar C. Weisenot made a handful of predictions between 1988 and 1989.
Let's not overstep that. Imagine if I gave you all of my money to be taken away by Ashtar. Where's my money? That's what I would say.
When it happens, yeah.
Well, no, but even it didn't, though, right?
It's like it doesn't when the time comes, and it hasn't happened.
Oh, so it was like a vague, like it will eventually happen?
Yeah.
Oh, again,
no. It was going to happen August 20th, 1967.
Yeah, but afterwards, right? I would be.
Where's my money?
Where's my money?
I want my money back. Yeah. Where's my money?
I was going to say, that's the greatest con there. You don't have to even kick the can down the road. You just say, pay me. And at some point in the future, Ashtar will come and pick you up as an Uber and bring you to the galactic, paradise. Oh, he could have had a good con there, but he put a date on it.
He put a date on it. You don't put a date on it. Keep it vague. If you can't keep it honest, keep it vague. Harold Camping made predictions about. Harold Camping made predictions between 1994 and 2011 among the most prolific modern predictors of the end of times. Harold Camping had publicly predicted that the end of the world would happen as many as 12 times, based on his interpretations of biblical numerology. So here's another numerologist.
Yeah.
He predicted.
And numerologist is based off of feelings, or it's not the
mysticism.
Mysticism. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. In 1992, he published a book ominously titled 1994 ?
So the world was going to be destroyed 12 separate times, or it would take 12 events to ultimately destroy the world?
No, he was just wrong 12 times.
Oh, of course he is. Yes. That makes sense.
So his most prolific prediction was for May 21st, 2011. And he said that he calculated that because it was exactly 7,000 years after the biblical flood. So after the Great Flood, when that
7,000 years. That's also when that Christopher Columbus was mentioning the 7,000 years old.
He also mentioned 7,000, and then somebody else also mentions 144,000 a few times.
Okay.
So that's an interesting number. We might have to look more into that. Why the 7,000? Why the 144,000? So when that date passed without incident, he declared his math to be off and pushed back the end of the world to October 21st, 2011. So just 5 months later. Still no. In 1997, comet Hale-Bopp appeared.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So I feel kind of like an idiot.
You're not.
Thanks, babe. Because I was getting Halley's Comet and Hale-Bopp confused. Because I thought Hale-Bopp was like the cool slang term for Halley's Comet.
I'm just thinking.
Bop.
Sorry.
But that's what a lot of people died.
What happened on this one? You got really serious there. The look on your face.
Yeah, because
tell me about it.
People died. So
tell me about it.
In 1997, Hale-Bopp appeared, and it was visible to the naked eye for 18 months. Rumors surfaced that this is the alien spacecraft was following the comet, and that NASA was covering it up, and the astronomical community, they were all covering it up.
Of course.
Though the claim was refuted by astronomers and could be refuted by anybody with a telescope, the rumors were publicized on Art Bell's paranormal radio talk show, Coast to Coast AM. So the claims inspired the San Diego UFO cult Heaven's Gate. And this is where Marshall Applewhite, the leader of Heaven's Gate, comes in. So Applewhite had convinced the cult members, 39 cult members, that they would be able to board the spacecraft that was trailing the comet if they left their physical bodies.
Yep.
So, on March 26th, 1997, Marshall Applewhite and 39 of his cult members committed suicide.
I wonder if they thought they had to keep their mind intact so that their conscious could float from their body, I guess, into the spacecraft, or if they think of souls and so on as a separate piece. Because I know a lot of the aliens, it's all about the one mind, right? The universal thought and things like that, consciousness, right?
Yeah. So the only way to evacuate this Earth was to commit suicide, so that way they could achieve a level of existence above human.
See, I actually appreciate these type of cult leaders because they're not a con, right? Because does that make sense? Like not saying that it's right or wrong, but they're not trying to just out people and take their money and be like, oh, it didn't happen, and they ran away, right? They're doing it with them, right? That's
they're
that
the
level.
Believers.
Yeah,
they
they're like legitimately believe themselves, where a lot of the others they're just straight up con.
They're not the con. They truly believe.
100%. So I, hey, we're not all perfect. We're not all right. We all have our unique beliefs. I would rather listen to these things and think that they're actually, they could all be wrong, right? But think of how many different religions and other things like that, right? Good on them.
Yeah.
Good on them. They did them. You do you, boo.
They did the damn thing. Good on them. Oh my god.
No one likes a con artist.
I can't roll my eyes hard enough. Okay. Oh, so around the same time that Hale-Bopp was around, a group in Oklahoma tried to sacrifice a virgin to ward off the impending doom from Hale-Bopp.
What an asshole.
And bottled air became a hot commodity.
For who? Who's trying to capture air? Hot
commodity.
I don't get that.
I don't get that either.
But did they actually sacrifice someone?
It just said they tried to sacrifice.
They tried to. Okay, yeah.
So hopefully she escaped.
Jesus. See, you see, those are the ones that like, take your money or let's sacrifice that person for my beliefs.
Right.
No.
March 31st, 1998. Han Ming-chen, leader of the Taiwanese cult Chen Tao, the True Way, claimed that God would come to Earth in a flying saucer at 10 a.m. on this date.
Another flying saucer reference.
Another flying saucer. Now we're in 2000. January 1st, 2000.
Have you noticed that ever since 1960 prediction, it's almost all been UFO?
It's been otherworldly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So January 1st, 2000, Movement for the Restoration of the Ten Commandments of God of Uganda made a prediction that the world would end on this day, and an estimated 778 followers of this Ugandan religious movement perished in a devastating fire and a series of poisonings and killings that were either a group suicide or orchestrated mass murder by group leaders after their prediction failed to come about.
People get pissed because
they get taken advantage of.
It's not take advantage. I mean, you can't just be like halfway in it.
Yeah.
It's all or nothing. You're either committed to this thing or you're not. And those who commit,
so
you have nothing to lose.
You have almost 1,000
afterwards.
You have almost 1,000 people who are going to be pissed.
Either kill the rebels or the rebels are going to kill you.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a sad one. So the same year, there was mass panic because Y2K.
Again, first of all, going back to the Miller Massacre.
Yeah.
The Miller's great disappointment.
The great disappointment.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
So many people believe that in 2000 a computer bug would crash and we would fall into pretty much like worldwide and societal chaos. Everything would cease to function, and obviously that didn't happen.
So that wasn't just like one big. It was just like the whole computer. It was
more
more of like
that the world was just going to collapse.
Yeah, it's almost like a prepper type of ending of the world, where it's not the ending, quote unquote, of the world, just the ending of civilization.
Every day that doesn't happen, I suffer the great disappointment. Every day I wake up and society is still functioning. The great disappointment.
One day we'll see zombies.
Yeah, one day.
Needs to hurry up. I'm getting fatter.
Yeah. losing stamina quick.
My stamina is a lot less than it used to be.
Hey, I can handle a zombie for like a block or two. After that, forget it. Okay, so May 5th, Nuwabian nation claimed that the planetary lineup would cause a star holocaust, pulling the planets toward the sun.
Oh, that's an interesting
That's
prediction.
a new one.
I like that.
That's a good one.
Because they're using some science behind it too.
Pulling the planets
Gravitational
towards
pull.
the sun. Now, I can see that happening if the sun imploded on itself, it would create a giant black hole.
I wonder if they're thinking that because they're aligned, like the furthest one would go a little bit closer to the second furthest one, and then the second one would go to the third, and it just like, works its way down and just kind of
like an abacus.
I don't know what it is. Yes, just like an abacus.
The old timey counting machines with the circles that you do, like 1, 2, 3 across the line.
Well, I guess yes.
Like an abacus. But okay. Quick, moving on. Abort. Now, this goes to your. Well, at least he's participating, so it's okay.
Who are you talking to?
I'm talking to you.
Oh.
This is going to.
Like, who are you talking about? He's participating. I'm like, are you talking to a third wall?
Okay. So, you know how you said you can get behind Marshall Applewhite because he followed through?
Yes.
He also committed suicide. So he wasn't just a con. He wasn't doing a long con. He was a true believer.
Yeah, but he did it himself because he was disappointed that didn't happen.
Probably.
So that's a separate piece. I don't buy those individuals. That's just the consequences of their action.
So then May 2008, you'll like this guy. Pyotr Kuznetsov, an architect from Russia, started the true Russian Orthodox Church and predicted that the apocalypse would take place in the spring of 2008.
It's interesting that the person who finds like that, like an Orthodox church, thinks that. But okay.
Yeah. In November of 2007, 31 adults and 4 children, the youngest one being 18 months old, were sent into a cave in Russia, thinking that they would be safe.
Is this part of the one that we were just talking about, Petro?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pyotr. Mm-hmm. So Pyotr, but he didn't join them. Yeah. But when somebody came out in the spring and realized that nothing had happened.
Again, going back to those preppers, they go into the bunkers, they come out 10 years later.
So 2 people had died in the cave. 2 elderly people had passed away in the cave. And so someone came out in the spring, saw that nothing had happened. So Pyotr tried to kill himself to get out of it. And he was committed to a mental institution and was diagnosed with schizophrenia, and according to The Guardian, he sleeps in a coffin.
Yeah, I feel bad for the victims because anyone who's in these cults, to me, is a victim. And if he ends up killing himself or hurting himself or any of that stuff, that's on them because of their epic failure.
June 30th, 2012. Jose Luis de Jesus predicted that the world's government and economics would fail on this date and that he and his followers would undergo a transformation and would allow them to fly and walk through walls.
Who grants them that? Is that like a religious thing? Is that like a UFO thing? Or is that just like physics? Would you buy that? I don't know if I would tap into that. I wouldn't buy that.
Even, I was like, if somebody...
What do I want to do with this superpower?
As much as I want... Yeah, okay, flying's cool. Okay, walking through walls.
We have doors.
Doors.
Is my superpower.
I mean, I was like, well, how often do I plan on being like a hostage? How often do I plan on being held in the vault?
Again, it wouldn't be worth it to me for this one.
Right. So December 21st, 2012, the end of the Mayan calendar.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the Mayan calendar would end as a result of a collision with planet Nibiru, or planet X, and Earth.
Planet Nibiru and X being a planet that's nowhere near us, right?
Okay, so planet Nibiru...
let's just act like I
Okay,
so
planet Nibiru, it first was presented in 1995 by Nancy Lieder, who founded the website of Zeta Talk. Lieder claims...
Hosen.
What?
Hosen.
Lieder claims that she is a contactee with the ability to receive messages from extraterrestrials from the Zeta Reticuli star system through an implant in her brain. She states that she was chosen to warn mankind that the object would sweep through the inner solar system in May of 2003, causing Earth to undergo a physical pole shift that would destroy most of humanity. When that didn't happen, She corrected the date to coincide with the resetting of the Mayan calendar, December 21st, 2012. Because she predicted the world would
I'm trying to think
collide in 1995 with planet Nibiru. Okay, I'll tell you more about Nibiru.
But when she's talking about the polars like aligning, or
she was thinking,
is that going to cause it to like attract the other planet, or what does that have to do with anything?
North would become south.
Yeah, but who
south
cares?
Would become north. The world would be in chaos.
Okay, okay.
Socks would be mittens.
Night would
Hats would go on your butt.
Just ultimate chaos. Got it.
Total chaos. Toilets would flush in reverse. Madness.
Planes would fly underground.
Yes. Total anarchy. So, but this is where it gets a little bit confusing because there was two different panics happening at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So people were panicking that the Mayan calendar was ending, so they thought that meant the end of the world, and the other people were thinking that planet Nibiru was going to collide at the same time. So you had two different groups believing these two different predictions.
Bad combo.
Yeah, it's a total bad combination. The 2012 phenomenon predicted, so a little bit about the Mayan calendar. The 2012 phenomenon predicted that the world would end with the completion of the 13th Baktun, and following the Mayan calendar, which had been tracking time for over 5,100 years. The 13th Baktun represents, here's where the 144,000 comes in. Each Baktun represents 144,000 days, which is 400 years. After each cycle, when the calendar reaches the end of the 13th cycle, which is like a 13th month, so at the end of the 13th Baktun, which ended on December 21st, 2012, it's just like flipping the page on a calendar on the wall. You were supposed to flip it over and start again.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody's like, it's the end. So that was the misinterpretation.
Yeah, just
continues. Restart. It continues. Yeah. It continues.
Or so you would think.
So you would think.
Black hole.
Mayanist scholars stated that there was no accounts or forecasting of impending doom by the Mayan culture, and that the idea that the long count calendar ends in 2012 was misleading was a misrepresentation of the Mayan history and culture. Scientists from NASA, along with expert archaeologists, stated that none of these events were possible. So the flipping of the poles was not possible.
I almost feel like this is the first time that these predictions were actually explained off or debunked. Does that make sense?
Yeah, debunking. Okay, so
normally it's like, oh, that crazy person, and they move on. They don't even talk about like why it may have not happened.
Yeah, so even though scientists were explaining that this wasn't possible, this isn't going to happen, it didn't dissuade everybody. So there are still preparations made for the end of the world. This is where like doomsday preppers really started to come in big. A man in China created a modern day Noah's Ark.
You mean it just created ingenuity?
Yeah, exactly. And sales of like survival kits like were skyrocketing. You couldn't keep like gas masks, water jugs.
Doomsday Prepper Show came out.
Yeah, exactly. So when nothing happened, 2012, and everything was fine, numerologist David Mead was able to correct the collision date with the planet, with Nibiru and Earth. He corrected it to September 23rd, 2017.
There's still numerologists are still around. I amazed they didn't change their name or just move on.
NASA finally had to come out and make a statement. And the statement was like profound. It like blew my mind. NASA finally came out and made a statement saying that various people are predicting that the world will end September 23rd when planet Nibiru collides with Earth. And the only reason why that won't happen is because Nibiru does not exist.
That's like a drop the mic moment. Just straight out, drop it and walk away.
Quote, the planet in question, Nibiru, doesn't exist, so there will be no collision.
That's awesome. Quote. That's awesome. That's very gangster.
So when September 23rd came and went without incident, Mead, who had honed in on the date, predicted that October 2017 would be the collision, and then he changed it again to November 2017.
See, in this day of age, you don't need necessarily followers or cults. You just need consumers. So you just need to write a book. Oh, I want to push it out another year, and here's my next book on the ending of the world.
Yeah, exactly.
Bastards.
But finally, so he said it was going to happen in October 2017. Then he changed it to November. But before November came, he said, no. We're going to stick with October 2017, except we're not going to collide. It's just going to pass really close, and it's going to set off apocalyptic proportion volcano eruptions.
And then NASA had a meeting and said, see my first point.
Per my per my last email. So NASA and National Geographic posted a statement that said, the rogue planet still poses no threat because it does not exist.
That is so cold. But I think that's not acknowledging the perspectives and the feelings of these people who do believe. That doesn't seem very inclusive of NASA. Cold. It is cold. It's cold. Hard.
Yeah. Well, space is a cold void.
Just like NASA. Yeah. Oh, we'll talk about NASA later.
Yeah. So in 2020, Jan Dixon predicted that Armageddon would take place in 2020. Which is kind of funny because 2020 was a dumpster fire. A lot happened in 2020.
Yeah. Yeah, but in relative
in
terms,
retrospect, to be considered an apocalypse.
With how, from a world perspective, we just talked about the bubonic plague. Does that make sense? I think relative speaking, yes, it was crap for us, but it wasn't what's been going on in the world terms relevant.
And she did also predict that the world was originally going to end February 4th, 1962. So there's that.
Why did she decide to throw her hat into the ring again? I'm coming out of retirement.
I don't know why people insist on making multiple predictions. I don't know. You're wrong once, just leave it alone. Just walk away.
From 1964.
Go away. Okay. Oh, here are future. So now we're modern times.
Okay, good.
Today, present times. We're all caught up. Our future predictions are that there's actually, so the first one coming up, 2026. That's coming up. Scientist Heinz von Forster predicts that the end of humanity will end due to overpopulation.
So these are now more interesting ones. They're not like a religious.
They're not talking about not a puff.
Right.
Not the return of a Messiah, not the return of the Antichrist.
Well, same with like you have those climate control and Earth's going to be destroyed in 50 years and so on. The population piece. So I can see it for this specific one, right?
Yeah.
That people could tap into that because they see the world population growing. They do know resources are finite.
Which kind of begs the question on whether COVID was an accident or not.
It's a whole new show. I don't even know how we address that with a small piece.
Anyway, yeah.
But,
so that's a interesting.
Well, is the COVID in the? I don't even know if we can say that before they take everything down. But either way, or is that conspiracy in itself? If you talk about it, don't say more.
There's also, this one's kind of open-ended. It's just the Messiah Foundation International predicts an asteroid will collide with Earth eventually. It doesn't say when, though.
But I would counter that one, where I think from a scientific, you could assume that eventually there was going to be a type of collision. But in the meantime, do you have the resources where they can mine asteroids, and it's very profitable.
They have a
and
space
so I think they're going.
I think they're going to specifically out there looking for.
That's going to be the next space frontier. It's not in terms of scientific exploration. It's for rare mineral resources, and then using that same technology for rare mineral extractions from those, you can easily, no, I shouldn't say easily, right, but you can add to push, throw off trajectory, do some other different types of things that can cause asteroids and other things to be deflected away from them.
A space force, absolutely.
It is.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's interesting. Kent Hovind, a Christian fundamentalist, said the rapture would most likely happen in 2028.
You see, now this is where I don't know if I respect the people who like pinpointed, or most likely. Are you even convinced that this is happening?
Most likely. He says most likely. Most likely means most likely.
But did he say how it's going to end or why it's going to end?
No.
Does it matter?
It doesn't matter. He said the words most likely.
We just need to go around we're in the Portland area, right? You just go around. Now, I don't see like the typical like 1980s movies where you always have that random homeless person who's like, the world is going to end. I don't see those people on the streets, so it's hard to just like interview them.
We saw him.
Where?
At our old house. He had the sign.
Oh, I guess so.
He changed the date on it.
That's right. Every day he did. Oh my God, how did I forget about that?
I have a picture.
No, every day he had a different sign.
No, it was the same sign. The date was crossed out, and he wrote a new date.
Yes, he was at that. I remember.
They're there.
They are there. We need to talk to them more. But like, it's I don't know. Yeah. What do they know that we don't know? That's what I'm getting at.
Well, and here's the thing where it's like we can all laugh, but sometimes people are right.
But is it intentional or is it?
Is it just coincidence? Is it luck that they're right? Well, okay. So there's just a few more. According to Rashad Khalifa, an Egyptian-American biochemist, research on the Quran suggests that the world will end 2280.
2280. I'm wondering, this is the first time now we're hearing the Quran and Islam being involved in terms of predictions. I'm wondering if that's just because of, who writes history and so on, right? We hear more of the European and whichever. I'm curious about the other.
There was other predictions.
Oh, there has to be, right?
Well, I didn't cover all of them.
Crazies are in all countries.
It's in every religion has a crazy.
Yeah.
So, but I didn't want to tap too much into something that I wasn't fully aware of. So if I didn't know the culture and the religion very well, I just kind of glazed over it. Not because I'm ignorant, not because I chose to.
No,
there was one prediction where. Yeah, there was one prediction that the world, except for India, would be flooded.
Is there a prediction where the world is actually a giant turtle, and when it raises its heads, it's going to destroy half of the world, and the other half is going to float around in eternity on the tail of
what
those
was
type
that
things.
One from?
Oh, that was from Malaysia.
No,
I don't know.
I've heard that before, though.
I just totally made that up.
Did you really?
Yes, 100%. And that's why.
I could have sworn I'd heard that before.
Of course, because it's all vague and it could happen. This is why. I know we said there was 200 examples from like that European American.
Yes!
There are millions of examples of people just like saying stuff. No, I totally believe that there's going to be a turtle that comes out of. 100% believe, convinced.
100%.
Wrote a book about it.
I already bought my cloud.
Have 100 followers.
Yeah. So now we're getting way, way, way in the future, and this is all getting scientific here. So Peter Tuthill stated that in approximately 300,000 years, WR104, which is a triple star, will explode in a supernova, and the gamma ray blast will pose a threat to Earth. So
again, the ones that are kind of backed by science, even though the science analysis may not be as specific, like in 100,000 years. Yeah, probably. Yeah. Right? But do we know the impact? Who knows? Or where the technology is going to be.
We've seen a supernova in space, so we can see what it'll do.
Or what the technology will come from. That it's not going to be in the same situation, right? Having a plague of locusts. Well, guess what? Now we got, Radex or some other random pet company that's going to spray locusts.
Now we have cats.
Yeah, no, but you have pesticide or something where it's not as, oh no, a plague. We got doctors. Science.
This is supposed to be an open-minded podcast.
No, I am. I'm just saying that the original concept may not last over time,
right?
Because
things are constantly evolving.
Changed.
Yeah,
yes,
everything's evolving.
That's it.
So the Geological Society of London states that within the next 1,000,000 years, Earth will likely have undergone a supervolcanic eruption large enough to destroy the Earth.
Yeah, 1,000,000 years.
1,000,000 years.
Long con.
Long. Very nice.
But they're just not owning it, right? You can't.
Yeah.
But yeah,
so Stephen A. Nelson.
I would buy that. I would buy
that. I'd tap into that. So Stephen A. Nelson says in 1,000,000 years, no, it's not. Excuse me, 100 million years. Earth will be hit by an asteroid. Of course it will. Of course.
Agreed.
And the asteroid will be similar to the one that killed the dinosaurs 65 million years ago. Of course it will. He's not going to be around to have to prove it. Of course it's going to hit.
I believe that, but again, going back, I feel like in 100 million years, we'll have some type of resource or technology to be like boop.
We'll be living on a cloud ship
by Astar
in the Sigma Ray.
My UFO Uber. Have them take me to a different planet. Can you imagine if UFOs just came down and they were just like our intergalactic Uber because we can't build the technology, so they Uber for us? That would be awesome.
That would be interesting.
That would be very interesting.
The most intelligent species is what a white man comment. The most intelligent species
has nothing with race.
Cater to our whim by being our chauffeur.
Hey.
They would.
Hey, this is my fantasy. I get to say what I want. I wish aliens.
would chauffeur me around the galaxy.
Hey,
You do you.
there
Boo.
would be a bargain. They have to do it for something. Whatever.
You do you, boo boo.
You want a specimen? Here you go. You're welcome.
Gross! They didn't even ask for a specimen. I have 5 bottles on tap.
You're welcome, sir.
You're welcome, sir.
Nice.
All right. And now, so 500 to 600 million years, they will be a massive gamma ray blast.
Yeah, and then the sun, right?
600 to 800 million years, the sun's increased brightness will weather the Earth's crust, drop levels of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, killing off the vegetation, leading to a lack of oxygen, ultimately leading to unsustainable life, making Earth uninhabitable.
Terraforming.
Terraforming.
Living on the ground. Mole people. What? Why you respond like that?
We have a whole episode to talk about mole people, too.
I don't know why you responded like that, as if like I'm crazy.
You're not crazy. That's sea turtle. That was crazy. All right, so that's it. That's the end.
So with all that, I can see and select individuals.
During certain
I can
time
believe.
frames, can't you see that you would be a believer?
I would. I do, especially the ones who like they're not taking the money or they're not saying, you know.
But what do you think about like mass panic? Individually, would you have fallen for some of those things? But as a group, would you have?
Probably not, because
like 20,000 people are climbing the hills to higher ground. But if it was just you in a village and somebody said, "Hey, there's going to be a flood."
It's weird because I feel like people in general do the path of least resistance and they conform. And so I feel like the path of least resistance is to just weather it out. Does that make sense? So I don't think I would be in the population that would be like, grab the kids and you like run away or something. I don't know. I want to be in the panic mode.
You don't think so?
No. And I know like all those stereotypical like the moon is turning blood red and then everyone like is screaming on the movies and everything like that. I don't feel like
you don't think you'd be one of those guys?
I'm like, oh, that's odd. And then move on with my life. But you know what I'm saying? I get it, omens.
Open-minded, for being open-minded, I feel like we're extremely skeptical and practical people. Yes. So it's like, heck yeah, I believe that something's going to happen. Do I think that you're going to be the one to predict that for me?
No, especially if you're wrong more than once.
More than once.
Well, fool me once.
Shame, fool on me, George W. Bush.
Yeah.
Shame a fool.
Still would not. No, and I would be in rage mode. The Miller Massacre has to have happened. And act like all the areas that you may not have even known about it because it was so localized. Because think about communities back in the day. It's not just all, you didn't get your Instagram post of this one city in some random spot. There were probably massacres about people who were like...
Oh, for sure. There has to be. There was no... This episode...
People don't take kindly to you ruining their lives.
Ruining their lives. People don't take kindly. Ah, shucks.
I'm disappointed.
But I mean, this is hard. This topic could seriously be a whole podcast by itself. All these predictions, all these failed predictions, what happened before, during, and after. Where some of these people who've made the predictions are still around.
I wonder what happened to their careers.
I wonder if they're predicting what they're going to eat tomorrow and getting it wrong.
But again, they say, just getting your name out there, good, even
good publicity.
Bad,
even bad publicity is good publicity.
Yeah. So in this case, they're really taking that to heart.
Yeah.
Right? That's what their motto is, to stick with all that.
Yeah. Takes a lot of cojones
or
to make 4 predictions. Anyway, so in a nutshell, some of those I could tap into. I think I could definitely tap into the scientific coming up.
Yeah, and
not 2028.
No, but
not in our lifetime. I don't see anything in our lifetime.
I just think it's interesting the how it changes over time, right? Evolution, right? You have a lot of religious based predictions, and then during the age of discovery, right, you have a lot of scientific type of discussions. Now we're in the UFO. Now everything's UFO based discussion. So
it's interesting to see where it's going to be in another few hundred years to see if it changes again.
Yeah, at that point we'll have our Uber driver.
Ashtar.
Ashtar to take me to, a lot of different things. It'll be great.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm excited to see the other planets.
Yeah.
And I'll take you on vacation one day.
Oh, that'd be really nice.
You'll be my partner.
Yeah. Partner in crime. Besties. Yeah. So that's it. Thanks for listening.
No, that's awesome. So, yeah, join us next time, and
where we talk about more weird, fascinating, and interesting concepts that we
wanted to discuss and think it's fun to listen to, because I learned a lot of fun stuff today.
Yeah.
And different concepts like the hen lady.
The hen of leaves.
Oh my gosh.
We might do a whole
I called
episode.
it, just so you know.
You did.
Man, that's disgusting. Just
throwing that out there. I was making breakfast this morning and my egg said, "Buy that thing you want."
Oh my gosh, can you imagine?
So it did. Yeah, I did. I bought it.
Each egg came from it had the manufacturer name on it.
Oh, like this one's from Gertie.
Yeah. Ooh.
Produced by Gertie.
That's horrible.
That's really gross. I still feel bad for that chicken. Anyway, we'll have to do a whole episode on Mary Bateman because she is fascinating. But so that's it, everybody. Thanks for listening. Not everybody, your neighbor is not the Messiah, necessarily. So think with your gut and not your butt.
And make sure you tip your